So the agenda of today is shown here. After the welcome that I am giving you for introducing the webinar, we will have about 20 minutes of presentation on the competency framework and other developments that we are working on. This will be presented by Rudolf van der Haar, a Dutch person who is living in Spain and representing the Spanish Association of Occupational Hygiene. And then from Alessandro Sassi, an Italian living in France and representing the French Association. So you see that we are really European. And then Karen Bafton will make a tour with us in the new IPO website. And then we will have time for questions that you are invited to post in the chat box. Next slide, please. So just a couple of minutes for telling you who we are and what we are doing. IPO is a non-profit organization, and the members are National Professional Association of Occupational Hygiene all over the European continent. Our general mission is to improve, promote, and develop the professional practice of occupational hygiene in the European context. Next slide, please. We have a number of objectives for pursuing our general mission. They are giving more visibility to occupational hygiene as a profession in the European context where there are many differences, promoting the harmonization of methods and standards and guidelines related to occupational hygiene, to be a contact point and also a partner for discussion at the level of European institutions, work on training, qualification, and certification of occupational hygienists in the context of European common legislation. But as you know, this topic is not so much addressed in the European legislation. Also, our objective is to be a point for exchanging the knowledge and also exchanges of experiences and practical in-field experiences to be shared between professionals and also associations. And then we want to promote a more developed communication and collaboration between the different European associations. And I must say that after 3 years of work, at least the 8 national associations that are taking part in IPO are starting collaborate and making reciprocal knowledge. The next slide, please. So now I will present you the board of directors of IPO. We are 10 people, as you see here. Everyone representing a national association in Europe, and everyone is working on different topics or more than one topics. Please, the next slide, next slide. Caspar and Alessandro, who are representing respectively the Switzerland and the France, are currently working in a work group on the interaction between the REACH legislation and the OSH legislation. Both are legislations dealing with the chemicals in the workplace, but from different points of view. Next click, please. Steven Verpale is our treasurer and is also very active in normalization institutes like ISO and SEN, and he is involved in various working groups at this level. The next click, please. Rudolf and Karen, who I will thanks now for their participation, are currently working hard on the competency framework draft that they are processing and reviewing from since a number of months. The next click, please. Hans Tore Smetvold, who is representing the Norwegian Association, is since some weeks member of a joint task force with the IOHA and also AIHA on a working group on the value of occupational hygiene profession. The next click, please. Andrea Hidinga is representing the Dutch Association and gives us the connection with the IOHA, the International Organization of Occupational Hygiene, because of her long experience and in different roles in this international association. And at the end of this presentation, Christian Schumacher is representing the German Association, and Owen Collins is representing the Irish Association, which is in the course of joining the European platform. They are facing some formal requirements and they will become soon a new member. Now I will give the speech to Rudolf for starting to present the Occupational Hygiene Competency Framework. Thank you for the attention.
Thanks you, Paolo, for the introduction. And as Paolo already mentioned, one of the activities of the APO is to draft, to develop a competency framework in the field of occupational hygiene. And in the next slide, please. I will explain what were the reasons that APO decided to develop this competency framework. And there are several reasons. And the first reason you can see in this slide is that as occupational hygienists, we are increasingly confronted with information and technical criteria from European countries. And as an example, I give you some information I found about silica and the exposure levels. And then you can see each country has some technical documents. And that is a common practice, I would say, that we are increasingly confronted with this kind of information. And in the next slide, the other reason for that we are developing this framework is that we have nowadays, I would say, supranational norms like the EU directives or the ISO or SEN norms that will promote the convergence of strategies and models used in the field of occupational hygiene. And the third reason, in the next slides, is that we need to define the competence of occupational hygienists. And this is very clearly, I would say, demonstrated in the EU norm 689. And I will read aloud what it's saying in that norm. It says, as a bracer, a person who is sufficiently trained and experienced in occupational hygiene principles, working and measurement techniques to conduct the part of the assessment they are performing according to the state of the art. But as you can see, there is no further information provided what constitutes sufficiently trained and experienced professional. And last but not least, in the next slide is it's for an occupational hygienist. If we want to work in another country, we are confronted with difficulties. For example, an occupational hygienist recognized in the Netherlands who has to work in Spain or wants to work in Spain, for example, its certification is not recognized in the Spain in this case, and the person has to take another course, master course, to obtain the title that allows him or her to work in another country. So it's necessary, as a necessary step, be considered that there should be some kind of recognition of the professional title, but guarantees the professional exercise at the European level without any obstacles. Next slide, please. So what we have done so far in the development of the competency framework during the years 2023 and 2024. Well, the first step was to collect and review all the existing information we could find about occupational hygiene training. And to give you just some examples, we reviewed the OTA, the Occupational Hygiene Training Association modular courses, and also other courses which were provided or which are given in several countries. And then also from the WHO, other technical documents from the Americans, for example, the American Industrial Hygiene Association, we reviewed their documents about the competency frameworks. And based on that information, we developed a first draft. And that first draft was reviewed by the EPO board members and the member associations. And the member association, as you can see in the next slides, attended a workshop, a face-to-face workshop, which was organized just before the International Occupational Hygiene Association conference in Dublin, where we discussed the first draft. And with the comments received, we started writing the second draft of the competency framework. Next slide, please. And just to point out that the competency framework is based on the European qualification framework, this we call EQF levels. And that means that we defined in total 3 levels. EQF level 5, which corresponds to the technician, EQF level 6, which corresponds to the specialist professional, and then EQF level 7, which corresponds to the senior professional. And then you can also see more or less the differences between the levels. As technical level is more basic risk assessment, the specialist advanced expertise in specific occupational hygiene areas, and as a senior professional is more focused on the broad management, innovation, and complex issues resolution. Next slide, please. And also to point out that the competence framework is, let's just say, outcome-based. We are not talking about how to become this, but we are defining what should do an occupational hygiene. What is the competence of an occupational hygienist? And that includes also achievement by experience and also potential assessment methods. That can be examination, portfolio. All that information we are now putting together in an Excel sheet, and we are now, and you can see in the next slide, that we have agreed on so far that field experience is required at each level. No requirement for university degree, as already mentioned. We have the EQU levels are understood as equivalence. We also agreed on that trainees need mentoring during transition periods. Continuous education is also required, and also the need for competency validation, as to say, certification. And what is not going to be standardized is the content of the training national level. What we are thinking of to make recommendations. And what kind of EQ levels are implemented in each country, it will depend on each country. That's to say, it can be happening that, for example, in the Netherlands, only EQ level 7 is needed, while, for example, in Italy, also the technician level should be included. Next slide, please. And what is the key for success? Very important, of course. And first of all, we trying to align with the NAR, which is the certification system defined by the International Occupational Hygiene Association, and of course, as I mentioned before, comply with the AQF levels as defined at Europe. It's also important that we need maybe make some improvements like terminology, clarification, missing increased emphasis on some topics. That will depend also on the comments we will receive during this process, so that outsiders, let's say, or interesting stakeholders can really understand what we are trying to transmit. And that's also related to the third item here, make it understandable to non-specialists. And of course, it's very important that our proposal will be accepted by the stakeholders. And stakeholders, you should think about trade union organizations, employer organizations, and European, let's say, European institutions. Next slide, please. So, as I said before, we had the second draft, and now we are already in the third draft. And in the process to write the third draft, we are now receiving comments from the national associations. And based on that comments, we will draft a new version, the third draft, let's say. And hopefully that will be completed at the end of June, maybe a little bit later or just after the summer. Also, we are thinking, or we are not thinking, we are trying to get all the associations, the consents from all national associations, and probably we'll organize a webinar with all those national associations. Also to mention, and I would say it's rather interesting, a report will be published in the annals. The draft is already accepted, and hopefully it will be published this year. We are planning to start to make contact with the different stakeholders, and also we are starting or planning this year to contact or to try to get the competency framework within European standards in occupational hygiene competence. And probably we will have another workshop, face-to-face workshop this year, and just to obtain a final, let's say, consensus about the competency framework. Next slide, please. And then I will hand over to Karen, which she will take us to the UK website.
Great. Thank you, Rudolf. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you, thank you. And you can still see my screen? Good.
Yeah,
okay.
all good.
Thank you. So I just wanted to share with you that EPO has developed a website. We started development in the last 6 months with the support of the BOHS, including Joe, who spoke at the beginning of this call. Here you will see the address of our website. It is www.epo.info. And I just wanted to give you a quick look at it and give a familiarization with it. It's currently quite a simple web page. It has our objectives, what we do. It has a button here of how to become a member. To be a member of EPO, you typically, for the most part, are a national association. And you'll see later we do have initiatives to gain more membership. But one way to become a member is just to click through on this button, and there's a small form to complete that gets reviewed by Paolo as president. If you look at the tabs at the top, there's additional information, and also the web page has been translated, or is available rather, in 4 languages. There is the possibility of further languages, and it may be that we add Norwegian. So the languages may grow in time, depending. The languages are automatically translated in the background. So I'm sure as more and more people start to use the website, you may pick up odd translations. Please let us know. We've spent a lot of time looking at the website and think we've identified all the things that need change. But if you do spot anything, do let us know, because it is a young web page. So that's the front page with our objectives and who we are. And then the next page, it will show the committee itself, which you've just seen. Also, some of our initiatives that I know that Paolo is going to tell you a bit more about. And this page, which is the resources. So this will start to become more and more populated. So today, of course, we've got our webinar here, and booking your place, which you can do from our website. Also position papers and documents. There's a couple here at the moment, but as more are developed, they will be listed here. And then our webinars, and this is our second webinar, and we'll load up the recording in the next couple of days. So it's maybe nice to have this bookmarked, and maybe keep an eye on what EPO is doing. Periodically as well, we will publish newsletters. We've got a newsletter due out in the next month or so, and again, that will go into the EPO website. And finally, on the member page, we have links to all of the member associations. You can see them all here. And if you hover over them, you can go direct to those pages. And in addition, there is a map that if you zoom in on the map, you can see where all the associations are. So I think that is everything that I wanted to let you know, but please do log on to www.epo.info and yes, start to engage with our website. And there is a contact button somewhere on here. Oh, I know, it might be in Become a Member, where you can actually contact the website itself via the president or an info email. Okay. I think that is everything.
Oh,
and now I'll move on now and pass over to Paolo to could you go on mute, please? To just cover the other developments and answer any questions that are in the chat, or if you come off mute, please go ahead and ask questions. So Paolo, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Karen, for your presentation. Thank you, Rudolf, also. I will shortly present you other developments that are going on in our platform. First, we are looking for new applications from associations who want to become members. The first one is the Irish one, who is completing his requirements. And then there are other European associations who ask periodically how we can become members. And as you have seen in our website, you can click in the homepage and then fill in a form who will give you direct access to the information you need. Then we have just completed the development on a position paper on the interactions between the two legislations in Europe on the chemicals at the workplace, that is the REACH, and the former legislation on occupational safety and health. And this document will be or is already available in our website for consultation. Then another topic that we are going to address is the European standard EN 689 that was already mentioned by Rudolf. This is the standard who mentions the role of the appraiser, that we have to define who is what competencies shall he or she have, and that's one of the reasons for our work on the competency framework. We are trying to get to the common understanding upon the basis of this standard, especially in view of a possible work item that could be started from at ISO level, so an international standard. So we believe that we shall be prepared for this possible new standard. At last but not least, we are also moving on with our influencing strategy. Here I would like to address a special thanks to Karen and her work group, because you know that inside EPO we have several work groups, each one addressing a specific work to be carried out. The influencing strategy is a complex tool of communication systems and strategies, criteria, and so on, who allows our association to be more visible and to speak and to establish connections with stakeholders at institutional levels, employers association, professional organizations, and so on. So every reality who has something to do with occupational hygiene. Our communication tools are the webinars like this one, the website that we have just presented to you, consultations at institutional levels or other different levels with different stakeholders, the engagements of stakeholders, and also a newsletter that we will develop soon and we will make available in the website or by a mailing list to be distributed to all potential interested stakeholders. So I think that we have already presented you all the main things we are doing and the projects that we have for the future. Now we have time for a discussion and for your questions. I don't know if you have already posted some question here. There is just one question in the chat, but we can also pose other questions or participate to the discussion. So I will start with the first question that comes from Mr. or Mrs. Wegemakers. A question about the position paper on REACH OSH. Who is the target group of this publication? Whom do you send it to? I can answer directly. I don't know if also Alessandro is attending here.
Just arrived, Paolo.
Okay, so Alessandro, do you want to answer?
Sure, and good
Okay.
afternoon, everybody. Sorry for joining late. So the position paper has just been published on our website, and it will be presented later this year in a webinar open to all. And towards the second part of the year, starting from now, we will move to an attempt to reach potential stakeholders in a broader way possible, but with a particular focus to European authorities. And the aim is really to bring into the table of discussion the point of view of the industrial hygienist on how the REACH directive could be further improved. So in a nutshell, as broad as we can, but focus on European authorities particularly.
Thank you. Yeah, because there's now a revision of the REACH regulation, so it's important to be on the table at this moment.
Indeed.
And Paolo, there's another question, and it's directed to Karen, and it says, where can I send feedback regarding the websites? So, Karen, maybe you can answer the question.
Yes, maybe someone, because I'm just noticing, I don't think this info@epo address is quite right. Maybe one of you could put in the address in the chat, the info@epo address. If we put that in the chat, then that's what that's the email to use, and we can make any changes fairly quickly.
And another question, which is not on the chat, but which I received from other way, is that some countries and especially in Eastern Europe, they don't have any occupational hygiene associations still. So what can be the role of EPO? Hey, Paolo, you can ask the question.
I don't read this question, but we know that especially in Eastern Europe, maybe there is no formal association dealing with occupational hygiene. Our role could be to accompany some realities, some organizations or groups of professionals, if any, to either become an association or at least participating in the debate, exchanging information, practical experiences, and getting useful information in sharing the different topics of occupational hygiene with us. For example, at this stage, we have the Irish Association, who started to work with us as observers because they have not reached the status of a formal association, but we have had until now a strong relationship with them. An example was for the workshop of last year, where we discussed the first draft of the competency framework, and we were hosted especially in Dublin, where there was the annual conference of International Occupational Hygiene Association, and with the cooperation of Irish Association, we could hold our meetings and our workshop. So this was a very good example. But I believe that if there is some group of professionals coming from countries where there is still no formal association, we can, without any doubt, help them to grow and to promote the professional practice. No, there are other questions more. One deals with what are the specific competencies that has been agreed on. Rudolf, I think that you can answer to this.
Well, I can answer it, but that means that we need more than half an hour or maybe an hour. Well, the competencies are, first of all, in 3 levels, as I said before, level 5, 6, and 7, according to the AQF levels. And it covers, that's to say, all occupational hygiene items. But of course, depending on the level, more extensive or less extensive. And as well as I can say that, for example, the senior level, level 7, of course, then there's also more, I would say, management issues, which are also included. The technician level at level 5 is more practical, while, for example, the senior level is more, including, of course, the broad aspects of occupational hygiene, but also more management issues. The idea is when we have consensus within the national associations and we have the final the document, then we will publish it. And of course, we are open for discussion with other stakeholders about this final document. But it will take us too long now to explain for each level specifically all the competencies. But as I said before, it covers all the occupational hygiene items in these 3 levels. I don't know if Karen or Alessandro, you want to add something more about it, or?
I think you described it really well. I think it's worth also mentioning that it includes competencies that are technical, like understanding risk assessment, understanding monitoring, but also it has some, I suppose you might call them softer skills to do with management or ethics and compliance. So it covers both types of competencies, both technical and other skills that are what you might consider sort of softer skills.
So while we wait for other questions, I remember you that in the chat box, you can find the mail address for posing questions about the website or other questions. info@ipo.info. Thank you, Kaspar, for posting this information.
It sounds like there's no more questions, Paolo.
Yes, there are two contributions. Thanksgiving from Mrs. Wagenmakers, the person who asked a question formally. Thank you for all the work we have done so far, and thank you for the webinar. And another message from Theo Scheffers. Congratulations. Very important as quality stakeholder for occupational hygiene in Europe. It may be important to board members to sign some declaration to exclude conflict of interest. I believe that this can be a good suggestion for our membership in the board of directors. We have a number, I can say that we have a number of fulfillments to complete in our activity as board members, because we are a formal association, so we have statutes. We have to make a number of things every year. So we will also consider this question for completing our fulfillments as a non-profit organization. I have to remember that we are under the Belgian legislation because we are established in Belgium, exactly in Leuven. Okay, so thank you for this suggestion. I would like to take 1 minute to give an information to everybody is attending this webinar. You know that we have 8 members. In the future, we will be 9. And we have involved in several moments the National Association members of EPO. So besides of ourselves that are all about 10 people, we are working on a different matters, and all of us have, of course, a job in our company or organization or entity. Also, we are engaged in our national association, and we are additionally members of the EPO board. So we have had the contribution, the help of someone of the national associations. And I would like to tell you that if someone of you is already involved in one of the national associations, members of EPO, you can give us your availability to collaborate with our board for any of the projects that we are carrying out. That was also for some members of the board of some associations that were involved, for example, in the review of the competency framework or in other projects. So any of us already involved in our associations, member of EPO, who will have the volunteer of collaborating with us will be very welcome. Okay, so thank you very much. For the moment, I do not see any more questions in the chat box.
No.
Okay, another technical information. Already Alessandro mentioned that the position paper on Rich and Osh already live in the website of EPO will be the subject of a future webinar. So remain connected with our website. You will get the information when ready when we will have organized another webinar for discussing this position paper that we have developed, shared with the national associations, with the board, and so on, several times, and then is officially living in our website. So stay connected for registering for this next webinar.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for attending, and thanks Paolo for your remarks. And if there are no further questions, I think we can give you a couple of minutes back in your day. And thank you everybody for attending. Bye for now, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.